Greetings. This is Daniela, and thank you for tuning in to the recap and reflection for the April 2025 Continuity Coffee and Chat. Please add a comment with your LinkedIn profile in the chat so we can connect. For the April Continuity Coffee and Chat, our community showed up with thoughtful contributions from 10 different countries: Barbados, Canada, India, the Netherlands, Scotland, Serbia, South Africa, Tunisia, UAE, UK, and 12 states across the USA. We explored three timely and important topics that I want to highlight today. Let's dive in. We kicked things off by discussing a topic that doesn't always get mainstream attention but underpins almost every sector of modern life: positioning, navigation, and timing, also known as PNT. PNT systems, including GPS, are critical to everything from emergency response and energy grids to financial transactions, and even agriculture. However, they're also vulnerable. GPS jamming, spoofing, and system outages can have widespread ripple effects. Recently, we've seen concerns raised about the increasing frequency of PNT disruptions, both intentional and unintentional. One example is the GPS signal jamming in Eastern Europe, particularly near conflict zones, which has impacted aviation and shipping routes. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security has categorized PNT as a critical infrastructure sector, and yet many organizations have limited visibility into their dependencies. This prompted a powerful question during our chat. Do continuity and resilience professionals fully understand their organization's reliance on PNT? What happens if we can't rely on satellites? We had a brief discussion, but we explored emerging strategies to improve resilience, including redundant systems, improving incident response protocols, and guidance from NIST, which is the National Institute of Standards and Technology. Also, want to throw in thinking about vendor risk assessments that specifically ask about GPS or other PNT reliance. Next, we turn to the headlines, specifically the political spotlight on FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency in the U.S. There's been a renewed discussion from the current president and members of Congress about reviewing and possibly reshaping FEMA's responsibilities. These critiques often center around FEMA's role, from disaster response to managing longer term recovery and equity initiatives. While FEMA's scope has certainly evolved over the years, from managing fallout shelters to overseeing COVID-19 response and climate disasters, we're now questioning whether it's overextended, in addition to questioning why climate should even be considered. We reflected on the implications this could have for emergency management professionals across the U.S., especially at the state and local levels. If FEMA's role is reduced or restructured, will local jurisdictions be left under resourced? Or could this shift allow for more localized, tailored response frameworks? The private sector was highlighted for their tailored response and how specifically in the energy sector, which falls under ESF 14, often has to act before knowing the level of engagement they will have from the government. It was also noted that many organizations, no matter the sector, relies on publicly funded information. So without the grants needed for researchers and professionals, such as those in the weather service and public health, where can we turn for a source of truth? Something that has come to my attention this week is the dismantling of AmeriCorps and CCC, which stands for the National Civilian Community Corps. That program housed FEMA Corps. This was a great way to introduce young talent to public service, but give people like me an opportunity to explore emergency management in a safe environment, which I was then able to pursue full time after the completion of my term. It saddens me that opportunities for young people who want to assist their communities are being removed in the name of budgets, when in truth, that particular budget barely makes a dent in the national debt. FEMA or FEMA Corps truly does help communities. And this conversation reminded us that resilience is not only technical or operational, it's also deeply political. Funding, coordination, and public trust hinge on national leadership and continuity professionals needing to stay attuned to these changes. Finally, we dove into something near and dear to many of us, the Business Impact Analysis, or BIA. Traditionally, the BIA is the foundation of any business continuity program. It helps identify critical functions, quantify downtime impacts, and prioritize recovery efforts. However, our group raised an important critique. Are traditional BIAs still fit for purpose in today's dynamic environment? We heard from several members who are experimenting with alternative approaches, like combining BIA elements with risk assessments, scenario planning, or agile informed assessments that are faster, lighter, and more flexible. Some organizations are moving towards a continuous BIA model, embedding impact analysis into quarterly planning and product development cycles rather than conducting a large assessment once a year. We also touch on the challenge of getting business leaders to engage meaningfully in the BIA process. Storytelling, impact visualization, and aligning BIA outcomes with strategic goals were suggested as ways to make the process more relevant. Ultimately, we agreed that while BIAs remain important, each organization, based on their regulations, needs to assess if it needs to evolve, not just to be more efficient, but to reflect how organizations now operate in a digital, fast paced, interconnected world. So, those were our big three topics for April: TNT infrastructure and its silent but massive importance, FEMA's future and its impact on emergency management, and how we rethink the BIA to match today's operational realities. If you want even more in depth insight from these discussions, I encourage you to attend the Continuity Coffee and Chat, which is the first Thursday of the month. If you need more information, please email me. Please remember to like and subscribe, as well as add a comment to keep the conversation going. Check out the announcements in the comments, which cover I am accepting donations over Q2, the compensation study, the Global Resilience Exchange Book Club, and upcoming session dates. That's all for now. Thanks for tuning in.